All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into the story of a historical figure who was so radical, so completely controversial, that for 2,000 years, historians have basically been arguing about what to even call him. We're talking about a man named Wang Mang, who seized the throne of China way back in 980 and has been called, and this is wild, the world's first socialist emperor. Yeah, you heard that right. A socialist in 9 AD? That label should immediately make you go, wait a minute, what? I mean, socialism as we know it is a modern political idea. It wouldn't even be a thing for another 1,800 years. So how on earth could an ancient emperor possibly get slapped with that description? Well, that's the big question we're going to investigate today. We're going to look at the man, his radical reforms, and his absolutely catastrophic downfall to see why this label has, against all odds, kind of stuck. Okay, so let's tackle that label head on. Look, we all know it doesn't technically fit. It's what you'd call an anachronism, a thing from the wrong time period. But there's a reason people keep reaching for it. Wang Mang's policies were so intensely focused on state control and redistributing wealth that modern historians use that word just to capture how completely revolutionary and, yeah, controversial he was for his time. But here's the thing. These radical ideas didn't just pop into his head out of nowhere. Wang Mang was a product of his era, and his era was one of deep crisis. So to really get a handle on why he did what he did, we have to first understand the crumbling world that he inherited. By the turn of the 1st century, the once mighty Western Han dynasty was, to put it mildly, rotting from the inside. And the root of the problem? It was massive, unchecked inequality that was just tearing the fabric of society apart. And as you can see from this timeline, this wasn't a sudden collapse. It was a slow burn over a century. You had a super wealthy elite just buying up enormous amounts of farmland. This forced millions of peasant farmers, who were the backbone of the entire empire, by the way, into becoming poor tenants on land they used to own, or even worse, becoming homeless. You can really see the slide from a strong, stable dynasty to a society in absolute crisis. The countryside was just a powder keg of suffering and anger, waiting to explode. And it was right into this chaos that Wang Mang stepped, promising everyone a brand new start. And this, right here, brings us to the heart of our investigation, the policies that earned him that shocking title. As soon as he got into power, Wang Mang unleashed this absolute storm of reforms. His goal was to completely rebuild the Chinese economy and society from the ground up. He called his grand plan the 6 controls, and just look at this list. It is staggering. We're talking about state ownership of all land, government monopolies on major industries, price controls, even state-sponsored loans for poor farmers. I mean, these are ideas that would sound pretty radical in the 20th century, let alone the first. Let's just zoom in on a couple of the biggest ones. So his first big move. It's hard to even overstate how audacious this was. He called it the well-field system, an idea he pulled from ancient Confucian texts about a mythical golden age. With a single decree, he declared that all land in the entire empire now belonged to the state. Just like that, private land ownership was abolished. The whole point was to break the power of those wealthy landowners and give every single peasant family their own plot to farm. This was a direct assault on the richest, most powerful people in China. And he didn't stop with the land. Oh no. Wang Mang also nationalized the most profitable industries of his day. We're talking things like salt, iron, and liquor production. The idea was, instead of letting rich merchants get even richer off these essentials, the government would run those businesses directly, and all the profits would go right into the state treasury. It was a bid for total, centralized control of the economy. So the vision was incredibly grand, right? A fairer society, a strong central government, an end to all the suffering. But the reality, well, the reality was a complete and utter catastrophe. It turns out having ambitious ideas is one thing. Actually making them work is something else entirely. The gap between what he wanted and what actually happened was just massive. That land reform, it was basically impossible to implement. The government bureaucracy was totally overwhelmed, and the powerful elites either flat out ignored the law or actively worked to sabotage it. His constant meddling with the money system, trying to devalue the fortunes of the rich, ended up wrecking the economy for everyone. And then, when famine hit and the Yellow River flooded catastrophically, his government was so weakened and chaotic, it couldn't respond at all. This led to mass starvation and, you guessed it, widespread rebellion. In the end, his so-called new dynasty, the Qin dynasty, lasted for just 14 years. 14 short years of turmoil that ended with peasant rebels storming his capital and, well, literally tearing him to pieces. So how in the world are we supposed to judge a guy like this? His reign was an undeniable disaster, and it cost millions of lives. But was he just a cynical tyrant hungry for power, or was he a genuine, if totally misguided, visionary? History, it turns out, is deeply divided. For most of Chinese history, the verdict was pretty clear. Wang Mang was a villain, an illegitimate usurper who defied tradition. His spectacular failure was seen as proof that heaven itself had rejected him. But then, in the 20th century, especially with the rise of communism in China, some historians started to see him in a different light. They saw a proto-socialist, maybe a tragic hero whose ideas were just way too advanced for his feudal society. You know, maybe the best summary comes from a modern historian who called him a man whose ambition outstripped his ability and whose vision was blinded by his own ideology. He might have genuinely wanted to solve his country's problems, but he was so sure that he was right that he just couldn't see the absolute chaos his policies were causing. A visionary maybe, but one whose vision led his people straight into an abyss. So why does this 2,000-year-old story of a failed emperor still matter? Why are we even talking about him today? Because the fundamental problems Wang Mang was trying to fix, they're still with us. How does a society handle extreme wealth inequality? What's the right role for the government in the economy? How do you push through major necessary reforms without causing total chaos? These questions are just as relevant today as they were back then. Wang Mang's story is this stark, ancient reminder that these debates are nothing new, and that the line between bold reform and disastrous idealism can be terrifyingly thin. Which brings us all the way back to our final question. Was he a visionary reformer who was just crushed by his circumstances? Or a power-hungry tyrant whose ambition led to ruin? Like with so much of history, the real answer is probably somewhere in that messy, complicated middle. And that part, well, that's up to us to think about. Thanks for